Hey guys, how about one more Halloween video for the season? I couldn't help it. So I made a couple little cutesy classic colored Halloween items and they're right there. Look how cute. You guys let me know what you think. I'm Whitney with Crafty Thoughts and Whatnots and thanks for joining me today, guys. So first project, we're going to grab one of these craft pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. Now, it says carvable pumpkin, but this is the first year I've seen the black ones, so I was a little excited, so I grabbed one. And then we got one of these wood, it says wood hanging decor, but it's just one of those wooden discs that everybody knows. And we're going to cover everything here in some Waverly ink colored chalk paint. And then also I have a couple of these wooden rings. They're left over from a previous project. You guys have seen me use them before. Now they're already painted orange, but we're going to use them as our handles here. And if you don't already know, since the beginning picture you saw in the intro there, this is going to be a witch's cauldron. So, just going to take a knife and I'm cutting off the top of the pumpkin and making a wonderful, beautiful mess of styrofoam everywhere. This one you're basically going to cut open the top larger than you would for any other use. You basically want to cut the top open because since we're making a cauldron, we want it to be more open, like a bowl, instead of like something that you're going to put an arrangement in. So we just made I made a really wide opening. And if you see here, we're going to place the rings on either side because these are going to be the handles of the cauldron. And I think that it gives it the perfect little witch's cauldron look. So I'm going to glue those down first. And everybody knows these Dollar Tree pumpkins, they have a perfect seam on them because they'll pop apart real easy if you just put a little bit of pressure in there. So I noticed right here, I'm going to glue because the seams look like they were coming apart a little bit. So I just kind of put a decent amount of glue on the inside of that just to reinforce it, make sure it doesn't split apart after we make this thing. Then basically all we're doing here is we're going to cover everything in a nice coat of that Waverly chalk paint. The witch's cauldron. Now here, guys, I'm going to paint the inside. Obviously the edge you want to paint as much as you can just in case it's seen, but in the beginning when I was making this, I planned on just putting some flowers in the middle. And what it turned into at the end is absolutely gorgeous. It's just I didn't have that plan. So this step right here you can completely skip if you're going to duplicate this project because basically we fill it up so much that you don't see the inside. But at the point that I was making this, I had no clue what I was going to do. It kind of, like most things, comes together while I'm making it. So I painted the entire inside of that pumpkin, and then also I am putting in a piece of floral foam and cleaning all of the dirty, messy paint off my fingers because for some reason I can't be messy. It's one or the other. It's either be completely messy all the dang time, or it's clean off every tiny little piece of wet paint that gets on my fingernails. I don't know. It's one or the other. There's no happy medium. So after I've got everything somewhat dry, I'm going to glue my pumpkin cauldron to the top of the that wooden ring base. But the reason why I'm doing it is because these pumpkins, you guys know how lightweight they are. They'll blow away in just the slightest bit of wind. So I'm weighing it down to give it some more of a, to give it more of a base, because this is going to be basically like a little centerpiece, tabletop, shelf sitter little thing here. So again, paint the whole thing black. Now these are 2.5 inch styrofoam balls, and these I believe are 1 or 1.5 inch styrofoam balls. This is literally just everything I had in my stash. I've had these sitting in my craft supplies forever. And what we're going to do is we're going to paint them. So these here, I have these extra pieces of little wire stems. These came off of floral picks and bushes that I've had in the past. And they're really good to use just for, little helpers. So keep little tiny things here and there. And you'll see how it makes it easier to process. It makes it easier to do some of your more messier crafts. So I'm going to use these two colors here. I've got citron and green apple acrylic paints. And what we're going for is the bubbling brew that's in a witch's cauldron. And again, this just came to me since I was up looking for some ribbon and I saw my styrofoam balls. It's like, why don't I just try to make it look like an actual witch's cauldron with her potions inside of it. And then I also looked in my stash and I found the cutest little witch's feet, which you're going to see in about a second. But what I did here was I'm using a Amazon. I got these off of Amazon. It's a wow, I just lost my complete train of thought. See, guys, this is the hard part. I get distracted by crafts, right? Well, I have to watch myself make crafts and also talk about it at the same time. So it's really easy for me to get distracted by my own crafts. It's hilarious. This is it's just like a chalk paintbrush, and I'm using like a stippling effect or a dabbing effect like you would if you're using a stencil. And that's the best way to get all of the paint inside the styrofoam, because styrofoam is going to suck up the paint. It's going to absorb a lot of it. And there really isn't a way, but you don't want any of that white styrofoam to show through. So I kind of just dabbed all around, and then here everything is dry. So I've got a half 2.5 inch, and then I've got a full 2.5 inch styrofoam ball. And what we did here is I just took some random colors. I didn't have much of the apple green color, so I didn't want to run out, but I think the two colors together made it pop. Now here also more stems, so we're going to use these as our picks in order to secure everything together. I didn't want to just glue things together. I wanted them to actually have more of a support system. So I am using extra pieces of wire stems from other floral stems that I've kept. You could use dowels. And if you're in a pinch, I've used chopsticks. You get lots of chopsticks and lots of takeout. I've used skewers. Dollar Tree, you can get a package of skewers in the kitchen area. Anything that you have that you can secure the items together makes it just that much more easy. And also, it's also a bit budget friendly. Keep these little items. Everything you're seeing me use here as these stems have come off of other floral bushes. Now, I don't keep all of them, because if I did, I would have a storage unit of just floral stems and leaves. Trust me, I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So if you see here, I'm just taking pieces of the wire, cutting it off, gluing them in, and then I'm poking them together. So I am using hot glue, but I'm also using these stems. And then look how cute it doesn't it look like her little bubbling brew is just like sitting there. I love it. It turned out. I was worried that the styrofoam wasn't going to take the paint the way I wanted it to, but I love how this started to it just started to come together. I was getting excited while I was making it, and that's the best part of it. If it starts to make you happy, just do it. Now I'm saving those other two 1.5 inch balls at the end, but I'm going to show you here. I'm going to use this bright green Spanish moss as opposed to my normal, that's on the right side is what I use for fall, but both of these I've got at Hobby Lobby. So this bright green, sorry, not floral, it's Spanish moss. This bright green Spanish moss we're going to use to tuck in to the little spots, the little nooks, the crannies, all the little empty holes that you might have that just needs a little bit of help so you can't see the behind the scenes. And then we're also going to keep tucking this in on pretty much the rest of the arrangement. So I'm going to have a nice little messy pile at the base of my pumpkin cauldron here, but just tuck them in. Use a little bit of glue here and there, but we are going to put so much more goodies in here that I'm not going to weigh it down with too much glue at the beginning, but you'll see in a second. This is, as it's coming together, I'll just slow things down and show you from time to time how it's looking. And then here are these little witch's legs. Now I've got these at Michael's so many years ago that I don't know it's even important for me to show you this tag, because I don't know if you can find anything similar. I have to tell you guys, I did not go out and buy much Halloween. I got what little I did from Dollar Tree when I went out for the fall stuff. Now those picks right there I got at Hobby Lobby years ago, and this is pretty much all here that I got this year. These are Dollar Tree little decor pieces I got this year from Dollar Tree. And I've got these berry picks, 3 colors, and then I got these cute little white bones. It got a little bit of glitter on them, but it wasn't horrible. And I was like, let me just see what I can make. So these little witch's legs, and I also have another set with the boots are green. So I chose the purple ones so that I could have that bright, classic, orange, black, purple, and green Halloween theme. It's a very classic theme. You either get spooky and just dreary, or you get this classic little happy, I almost want to say comic or cartoon type feel of Halloween. So it's not necessarily scary, but it's just really cute and classic spooky. I'm not sure, but here we're gonna stick them in on one spot right there, so it looks like she fell into her cauldron. I love it. I love these little things. They did the same thing with elf's feet and legs for Christmas. So for this one, this is my first time doing anything for Halloween, but I think it turned out really, really great. Now the witch's cauldron from the Dollar Tree pumpkin is making me super happy because you guys, it's a pumpkin. But all I did was I cut one stem of these little what are they? Like the little circular cutesy things from Hobby Lobby. They came apart super easy, and yes, there's glitter on them. This is like the exception to the rule of recent. My glitter rules were broken on this particular project, and I think it's okay, because also those little bones from Dollar Tree had some glitter on them too, but not to the point where, you know, I was cleaning glitter off and it started to make my eye twitch, because I mean, everybody knows either it's one or the other. You either love glitter or you hate it. I'm on the fence of hating it, but I like the way it looks when it's not in my home. It's like one of the things, like, I don't mind it as long as it's nowhere near my house. But I wasn't cleaning glitter off my hands or my workstation, so it was okay. Now here I'm adding the last 2 styrofoam balls because I wanted it to look like the cauldron bubbles were coming up and out. So I knew I wanted to wait until I placed some more items in there. So once we got the witch's legs in and I put a couple of those cute little, you know, squiggly glitter picks in there, then I was like, okay, well, let's put in the rest of our balls, our styrofoam balls, and then we can just start adding all the extra little tiny add-on pieces. So the berries here, we're cutting them apart, but I'm leaving just enough of the wire at the end so I can use them as picks on their own. And I'm just adding that around to all the little green, you know, potion bubbles to make it look like it's just got extra, you know, magic. Because that's what we're doing, right? A witch's cauldron is full of who knows what she was concocting. Hopefully it's not too bad because she fell in. And I mean, it's super cute. So I'm adding them just in little bundles and in little random places. There's literally no rhyme or reason. Just put them in however you see fit. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes your eyes happy. And it will come together. I had no pattern. I had no purpose. I just knew that I wanted to add these all around. Turn the arrangement down, especially if you're making a centerpiece. Make sure you don't neglect any one side, since it will be viewed at all sides, front, back, sides. And then here we're going to start on our ribbon. Now, I got this ribbon a couple years ago from craftoutlet.com, and I love that it has that little black fuzzy border on it. It's just really cute. I couldn't help it. And of course, it worked out perfect for the colors of our project. Look at those colors, guys. It matches perfectly. It was meant to be. And then here are 2 spools of smaller ribbon that I got, one at Michael's, one at Joann's, so long ago that it doesn't even matter where I got them, honestly. It's just one of those things that we tell each other, I got this here, I got that there. Now, I'm not really doing a big bow out of this 1.5 inch ribbon. I'm just going to use it as a background. Now, the smaller 1 inch ribbon, since I'm making 2 ribbons, I'm going to put one on the front and one on the back. I am cutting everything and every strip the same length, so you'll see me double them up. So I'm getting 2 of everything I've got here. And then here I'm just practicing and trying to figure out, do I want to make 2 double bows, or am I going to just try to tie them together? So I am going to cut both of the 1 inch ribbons the 1/2 inch ribbon to the same length. And then here is a pipe cleaner. We're going to cut it in half again, because we only need to use a half of a half for each bow. Half of a half? Does that make sense? Half of a half? You guys will see here. We're going to take the 1.5 inch ribbon, we're going to lay that flat, and then we're going to take 1 each of our other 2 complementing 1/2 inch ribbons, and I'm going to just fold this in half and dovetail the ends specifically first, just to make sure, because nothing's worse than finishing your project and realizing one of my ends is not dovetailed, and then you got to try to get your scissors in there. And sometimes I've ended up cutting the wrong thing, so just make sure you got the ends at least cut to the way you want, whether you like to dovetail or just put a diagonal on there. Just take a peek and make sure you got your ends on your ribbons cut before you finish your project. So what I'm going to do here is I am just going to tie. First off, I was confusing myself here. If I just would hurry up and get it. This is the classic little, you do an awareness ribbon shape and then you kind of just pull the top down and pinch it in the middle. It's a very easy classic way to make these small little bows. So what I decided to do here was I decided to just put a little dab of glue in the middle. And, you know, guys, I'm sorry if you can hear my dog. She's got some issues. She's on some heart medication now, and she's coughing a lot. So if you hear that in the background, that's my Tootsie. She's having some heart problems now, so you know, send Tootsie your love. But she'll be coughing in the background if you guys hear that. But that's my baby, and so that's what you're going to start hearing in all the videos now. So in any event, we're going to keep making the same ribbon shape, and I did this on all 4 ribbons, and I just put a little dab of glue, and that was just to make it a little bit easier to hold it together, because that candy corn ribbon is a very satiny ribbon. It's very slippery, so it will come, it'll just slip apart while you're trying to hold it. And we're going to pinch all 3 of these together before we secure them with a pipe cleaner, so you really want to have just a little bit of help. So just put a little dab of glue. It won't hurt it at all. We're pinching it together in the middle once we get this to where we want it to be. So the glue isn't going to keep you from being able to achieve that cute little like cinched middle on a bow. Plus, we're also going to add so much beautiful gobbledygook to the middle of all these bows, because you guys know I can't not load bows with all kinds of good stuff. So you will, whatever you're securing the middle with, it won't show and it won't matter. But that little dab of glue is really just to help with the process of making the bow. And again, guys, every time I do a bow, it's different. Sometimes I just will pinch them in the middle and then adjust it later. And sometimes I will add those little bits and bobs of glue here just to help out. Depends on how I feel that day. Depends on how much help I really need in the craft room. So sometimes just let your glue work for you. Now, there you go. Look how cute these are. So the 1.5 inch ribbon on the back is just to add a little bit more to it, because I wanted it to have a little bit more of a presence. And here I actually just took the pipe cleaner that I used, and I'm using that as my pick, and I pushed it right into the front of the pumpkin. Since the pumpkins are actually made out of styrofoam, you can use those as your actual, assembly. You don't have to always have a piece of styrofoam anywhere. So I put the one on the back behind the legs and then the one down on the front. So in any view you get, left, right, front, or back, you have a perfect view, and you've got a bow. You've got that ribbon. So you got little accents and you got something you can see from every angle. So of course I put a dab of glue, I glued them down. Now, when you're looking down right now, you can see the green pipe cleaner. So there's nothing wrong with that. You could cinch it in the middle. You could use jute twine if you want. I don't mind that this shows, but trust me guys, once we're done, you're not going to see it, because obviously here begins the more and the more and the more. So I've got these cute little bones from Dollar Tree, and then these here are Cupcake Picks. So these were super cute that I saw this year. They're like little wooden accoutrement for your cupcakes, but I'm gonna take them apart and I'm gonna cut off most of those sticks, and I'm gonna use them as picks in our decorations. So these little styrofoam bones here, they have a little bit of glue on them. I'm sorry, not glue. They have a lot of glue after I'm done with it. They have a little bit of glitter on them, and they're so cute. And I thought it just added the perfect little, it's like chili, it's like a witch's chili. Because I don't know about you guys, but chili is one of those things where you don't have a recipe for it, right? You kind of just throw everything into a pot, and then it turns into, well, it turns out either really good or really bad, right? This is our witch's chili. So I'm adding all kinds of bones. Now, one of the bones I took out of the bag there was already broken in half. So I'm using that to my advantage, and I'm just kind of tucking it in here. If you see right there, I kind of pushed it in down by one of the legs, by the little feathery part of her leg, so that you can't really see that it was broken. But you'll actually see me cut one in half on purpose on our next little project. You'll see that next, and it turns out great, because not everything is perfect. Not everything has to be 100%. Remember, don't be afraid to cover up some of your items. Some of them aren't meant to be 100% the main focus. That's what they're there for. They're there as an accent. So here I'm adding some more little of the berries, piecing them in there, just trying to get things together. Now, I didn't slow that down, but in a second I'm going to show you guys a real close-up, and then also in the studio lights, you guys, I'll give you the slowed down close view so you can see every little tiny detail. But here I'm adding the little Cupcake Picks. There's the bat, there's one, and there's two bats. And these are things that you won't really see far away. You have to actually sit down and take a look at it. So it's one of those things where if you're making a centerpiece, it'll end up being a good conversation piece, or it'll be a good distraction at the table, those types of things. I love doing that. That's why anytime I go out anywhere, there's centerpieces around it, because, well, I'm a crafter at heart, just like you guys, anywhere you go, you want to sit there and look at something and, try not to touch it, to take it apart, because it's not yours. So there it is. Take a look. What do you guys think? Here's as close up as I can get. So there's one little bat, there's two little bats right there on the left. The boots were, obviously I can't take credit for any of the little witch's legs, because those were purchased the way they are, and I just used them as picks. And there it is. And now those little black rings turned out great for the cauldron handles. The pedestal is perfect because it's a great thickness to weigh down the item. And this is not top heavy. It's not going to get bumped over. And it's great. I love it. It turned out so cute. And I, again, so proud, had to run around the house and tell everybody, which is basically just my husband. But look how cute. You guys let me know in the comments below. Tell me what you think. All right, so here are our second little projects. I got these two pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. They're just styrofoam burlap pumpkins, and I'm going to basically take them completely apart. So pull out the stems, and I was surprised right here. If you see, this burlap came off of them super easy. And then I didn't realize these have like a little channel that is in the actual styrofoam. I thought these things were going to be glued together. There was not much glue other than at the very top. See? And so now I got two perfectly little naked styrofoam pumpkins. And of course I saved that burlap because it looked like flower petals, but you're going to at least want to save one piece. So here we're going to change the fabric. These are 2 rolls I got at the Dollar Tree of fabric. And then this right here, the black and orange plaid, I got that at Joann's, I believe, many years ago. Just, you know, whatever your stash is, grab your Halloween fabric. Or even you could do this for fall. You know, grab your fall fabric and just apply what your theme is to this. So here I'm taking a peek, and I have one of the pieces I took off the styrofoam. So I have one of these burlap pieces, and I'm looking at it, laying it flat. We're going to use this as our template. So I'm just trying to see. Now, for this pumpkin, I'm going to use this spider web fabric, but I'm going to cover all 4 sections with it. So I'm just cutting a strip out that I know is wide enough, which is why I'm using that burlap piece there. Now fold it right sides together. So if you're a sewer, or if you have any kind of practice in the sewing world, you know everything has to be right sides together. You don't want to put any marks or do anything on the right side of your fabric because you don't want it to show. So make sure you have any kind of fabric with the back side showing, and then you'll see me here. I did a very rough draw, and I'm just using a Sharpie, guys, because again, none of this is going to show because we're going to tuck it right back into those little channels in the styrofoam. So if you see here, I'm just going to add this down. So I kind of think if we're going to redo this, I will make these smaller as far as the pieces that I cut, because in some of them I did have to cut a little bit off, and I don't like wasting fabric. Now again, I did not waste that much. So I put a dab of glue down, and I started on the bottom of the pumpkin for each one of these 4 sections. And then I'm pulling it up pretty tight so that way you can see the channels in the pumpkin. You can see all the little ridges and all of the cute little divots and everything. So that's part of the detail of the pumpkin that you want to keep. So I pulled the fabric up as tight as I could before I glued it on the top. Okay, now I'm going to leave this in real time so you can see. Now this right here is like a little spackling tool, or an air dry clay knife that you can get in a 3-pack at Dollar Tree. It worked out great for what we were doing. So I'm taking the edges, and you'll see here, and I'm just pressing them into those channels in the styrofoam that's already there. Now for this particular one, I wasn't using glue, but I will use glue going forward in every single one of these, because I don't want you to be accidentally pulling the fabric out. Now, trust me, when we're done, because we're going to use, here's where I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there. We're going to be using a black jute twine to put on the edges of all of this. So it's not going to come out. But one of those things is like, if you're ever worried about something falling apart, I don't know why, I always worry that something's going to come off, fall apart, flowers will fall. That's why I always want to make sure I've secured them good enough. So here, I have a little bit extra at the top. We're just going to cut that off, and we're just going to keep tucking it into these little channels. Had I known this, now I didn't know when I took these apart, because obviously I didn't take it apart in the store, I would have bought more. So of course, all this stuff is gone. It's no longer available. Everything that's left in my Dollar Tree is just, you know, little odds and ends of, you know, holiday stuff. So I don't think their Christmas is out, but look how perfect it looks. It's like, it took it to a whole new level, just changing the fabric. And you guys, you could use anything. You could use that black cheesecloth that they have out for, you know, Halloween, the decorative stuff. You could paint this styrofoam first before you put like a more sheer fabric, or that cheesecloth, anything really spooky. But then also, no, don't forget fall. You can change these out and just use a fall theme with fall fabric. And then instead of bones and skulls, you could put flowers and acorns and, you know, anything that would apply to your theme and your preference. So here I'll just showing you, really, you know, this is all sped up so you can see it. I did the same thing for both pumpkins. We have to start at the bottom, and then I started to put enough glue going up towards the top to pull it tight enough, and then just tuck your edges in. I added a little bit of glue here and there just to make sure that the folds in the fabric stayed the way they were, because it's going to gather on the sides. It's not, you know, anything that has a curve to it, you're going to end up seeing that you have a little bit more fabric. So it'll have a natural fold in it. It's almost like a gathering. You ever see a gathering on, you know, pleats on pants and those types of things? Your fabric will fold together, but it looks very natural. So here we've finished all 4 sides, and I'm going to take this jute twine. I got this off of Amazon a few years ago, but you can find this stuff anywhere, guys. You could go to the hardware stores, you can go to any craft store, Walmart, you can get it on Amazon. Just find some black twine. You can also use you have baker's twine, or you could use yarn, anything that you want. Just make sure that it is complementary to your fabric and your theme. So I had this extra little spool, so I'm going to use this red. Literally staring right at it. Just got done saying that it was black twine, and I'm going to just, the word red just pops in there. You know, guys, it's called craft distractions. I can't help it. I saw pretty things. So I'm covering each one of the channels first because they are deeper, and I was worried they were going to fall in. So now what I'm going to do is the natural little divots here in the pumpkin where you see the little ridges of the pumpkin, we're going to add some on those as well. So it's going to, so each section of the pumpkin will have this little accent of the black jute. I think it's super cute. I love the way this looks. And honestly, if you're not as extra or extry as I am, you could stop here after you're done putting down the jute or the yarn, or you know guys, little fuzzy yarn, you know, that fuzzy chenille yarn would look super cute with this. Oh, Tootsie, sorry guys, again, my dog, she's coughing a little bit. This would look super cute with that chenille yarn. It would be super awesome. So here's the second one. I just want to show you, for this one I decided to do 2 sections of candy corn and 2 sections of the plaid, and it turned out so cute. I was at first just going to do all 4 with the black and orange, but I was like, you know, I bought this Dollar Tree candy corn fabric. I need to use it. You guys ever know, it's like, if you buy the supplies and you don't use them, then they end up in your stash for years. And y'all know me. I have a stash. I have 2 bedrooms worth of a stash that I was like, I bought this. I'm going to use it. So I just cut out 2 pieces of one, 2 pieces of the other, and I'm doing the exact same thing as you see here. Now I sped it up super fast so you could just see I'm applying the glue, pushing it down, and then tucking all these extra raw edges into the styrofoam channels. And then also same exact process with the jute or the black twine. And you've got 2 pumpkins. So now here, these are the stems that we pulled off of the original pumpkins, and I'm just going to put them into a piece of styrofoam, and I'm going to take a little tiny extra. Now these are like little sauce cups you'd see, like you get ranch in them. I got them at Dollar Tree. I put little tiny pieces, you know, just little bits of paint in it because it's a lot easier to keep this off to the side and paint out of it. When you have something so tiny like these 2 stems you need to do, you don't want to pull out your entire bottle of paint. Just keep this off to the side. I got white, black, and then I've got a little bit of a antique wax mix that I use, and I keep those off to the side. So I painted the stems. We just put a classic black chalk paint on them to keep them in the same theme. And remember, you can leave them brown if you want. Again, if you're doing a fall theme, don't paint them at all. They were the perfect color already. So here I'm showing you that chalk paint finish actually turned out really well on the plastic. It's no longer got the shine on it, and it's the perfect color. And I was worried it might not go through the fabric, but look at that. You could stop here. I mean, no judgment. Obviously, I turn things into beautiful nightmares, but I have to add all kinds of stuff to everything. But you could have stopped just right there, and it had been super cute as maybe a tiered tray, a display, or you can add a couple of these to a bowl. You know, you could have stopped there. These are more of a shelf sitter centerpiece themselves, even though they're very small. But you'll see, I'm going to do the exact same thing on this one with this theme. I'm keeping it. I didn't put any orange in this one. This one is just the black and the white. And then I added a couple pieces of purple because I am going to use this ribbon right here, which is very, very, very old Michael's ribbon. The purple with the black fuzzy edges. And then also, of course, I added more of that skull ribbon. I love that little skull ribbon. And I think I got that at Joann's. But actually, I got that in the little section in the fabric aisle where they have those extra trims. That's not actually in the ribbon aisle. I got it the one year I got it, and I had to buy it. I bought 2 spools of it. And you guys, this is the first year I've used it. I've decided to say I'm no longer going to buy supplies that I just look at. I'm going to buy them. I am going to use them. That is what they're there for. These are not decorative towels in the bathroom that are only there for display. And if I catch you drying your hands on them, you know what I'm saying? These are there. They're supposed to be bought. They're supposed to be used. So here I am using this. And then also this little cupcake topper of the skull was perfect to go with that ribbon and with the fabric. I think this little theme here with these colors turned out great. And then here's where I was telling you before. I actually cut that bone in half because one of them was broken when I did the witch's cauldron, and I like the way it looked. So this one, I'm just tucking more bones into the top of it. So just decorate the top. Just sprinkle it. Pretend it's a cupcake. You know, whatever you want to put on the top of your cupcake. Obviously, you're going to enjoy that. Do that with your decorating. I just added stuff to the top of this that I thought would be cute. And I was also trying to remember, don't cover up the stem, because every punky stem has to have its day. And I really love the stems on pumpkins, guys. I love the more twisted, the more gnarled, the longer they are. I love them. I specifically love having really long stems on pumpkins. I am that person that will crawl into the pumpkin patch at the grocery store, trying to dig out a stem that's really long and not broken. And then I will protect that pumpkin in my cart and in my car until I get it home to make sure that nobody breaks that stem. Because I have had pumpkin stems broken after I dug in piles for them. I mean, I've come out with scratches. I've been in pumpkin patches that, you got to crawl into the wood bin and there's spiders in there. That's, it's dedication. I'm serious about my punkies. Also, a couple of you guys have mentioned that you guys now call pumpkins punkies, and that makes my heart swell. I think, guys, that's so cute. I love how, I love that you guys are taking these, you're taking these things I do and making me feel less crazy, and it's beautiful. Even though I know we're all mad here. So in any event, here we moved on to the second pumpkin, and I'm doing the exact same process. Now I sped this along just so you can watch and see. I'm doing the same thing here, except for this one I actually tied a bow. Now I'm going to use a little piece of wire in the middle, but here you do your awareness ribbon shape, pinch it in the middle, and then place your secure around it, whether it's wire or chenille stem, pipe cleaner, whatever. I made a quick little fast bow, and I kept the ribbons together. I basically put one ribbon on top of the other instead of tying two separate bows, and that's one easy way that you can do that, especially since the candy corn ribbon is a one-sided ribbon, so you don't want the back of it showing. So just make sure that you layer something else on top of it. You won't see the back of them, and you're good to go. And then now for this guy here, I literally just loaded it up with those little berry picks. And again, since these are also styrofoam, like the witch's cauldron, you can use these as your floral foam. So you're really a win-win. You don't have to add anything extra other than, you might need a little help. Here I'm using a tool I got at Dollar Tree here. It's got a really sharp pick on one end to help maybe poke through the fabric. Depending on what you've used to cover your pumpkin, you might need a little bit of help getting some things through there just to get it in the styrofoam. But again, I didn't have too many problems. And then for this one, I used the bats again. I used the little cupcake topper bats, and I couldn't help it. So here we've got the two pumpkins as they are, but guess what's missing, guys? You almost let me go. You almost let me go. We need tendrils. Punkies need tendrils. Every pumpkin has tendrils. I don't care what anyone says. Every pumpkin in this world has a tendril. Take some wire. Of course, I'm using my black floral wire. And I'm going to show you here. I just grabbed a pencil. I wrapped it around the pencil. And then I wanted to show you how I squished it together. And you get this perfect little coil when you pull the wire off of the pencil. The pencil is basically, I chose because it's the thickness for the size of the project. And mostly I will use my glue sticks for larger projects. And you're going to get a very big coil from that. And I've used that with pipberry garland or anything else wired for tendrils. For these little guys here, because they are a smaller piece, I was just looking for something that was smaller. So pencil, pen, you can use the handle of a paintbrush, anything you can see. Just look for this thickness and the diameter that will be, complementary to the project you're working on. So I added 2 to my black and orange pumpkin. And I kind of pulled them off and to the side and just make them quirky, make them funny, make them weird. Now, the end of the wire is really easy. I'm just taking my needle nose pliers and I'm pushing it into the styrofoam. And then I put a little bit of glue and then just kind of feed that down in there. Now, that one I felt was a little too long, so I kind of cut it off here. And then I'm making a new piece at the end that I cut off, and I'm placing that in too. So you could literally just make one long tendril and then cut that into many pieces. Each time you make a cut with your wire clip or with your wire snips, you're going to have a new sharp piece. So that becomes your stem or your pick, and you just place that into the styrofoam and you're good to go. So I have 3 tendrils on our little black and white pumpkin, and I got 2 tendrils on our black and orange. And I love them. I love how they turned out. What do you guys think? From a $1.25 burlap pumpkin, that was very not interesting. I mean, it's a pumpkin, so it's still interesting, right? And then that might be my frame of thought because it's a pumpkin. But to these 2 girls here, look how pretty. I love it. The fabric turned out great. This is Dollar Tree fabric, guys. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. It's a smaller piece of fabric, but for $1.25, it's convenient. It's there. It's not bad. It's pretty cool. I love the way this little, double-sided one is here with the 2 different fabrics. That turned out way better than I thought it would too. Oh, there's a couple little blue strings right there. I can see them now. I'm gonna have to go take those off. I know they're there now. What do you guys think? I like the bright green Spanish moss on this. Remember, I keep the 2 colors in stock. They get them both at Hobby Lobby. You can't go wrong. And there's it. That's it. There's our little bundle. There's our little collection of Halloween. I really love the way it turned out. Now, traditionally, I am not a Halloween decorator. I don't really do that much for it. I don't have much that I've put out. I haven't decorated for Halloween in many years, but these last couple of things I've made, guys, with the witch's hat in my previous video, and now with this cauldron, it's kind of changing me. But you know, regardless, there will always be pumpkins in my home, and year round, of course. I have no shame in that. I keep pumpkins out year round because they are my favorite. But this little girl here, she's adorable. And the bones, again, Dollar Tree came through for me. I used to hate on Dollar Tree, but I'm telling you, I'm coming around to a lot of their stuff. They're actually paying attention to the crafting community, guys. If you guys notice the stuff they're bringing out, they're watching our videos. They're seeing what we're putting out in social medias. They're taking a look, and they're really giving us really good things to use, really good supplies. And obviously in smaller quantities, but for $1.25, you cannot go wrong with a lot of it. I love how these turned out. You guys let me know. Have you guys done anything similar? And then do you still plan to do some Halloween crafts before I mean, right now it's about mid-October, so this video is a tiny bit late, but thanks, guys. I appreciate everything you do. Now, I have a coffee page that many of you have donated to, so if you want to buy me a coffee, it helps me with continuing to support the channel, buying supplies, keep things going. And then I also have a few DIYs on there for sale, so if you've seen anything that I've made and you want to take a peek at what's for sale in my coffee shop, take a look at that, and that also helps me as well. And with that said, I want to thank everybody so much for joining me, a lot of you with your continued support. I love you guys more than you could possibly know. And with that said, many hugs, happy crafting, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.